Okay, so this is part two. We just got logged off by accident. So I just want to pick up where we left off, Seymour. So what I love about your question is, does this bring me towards my life purpose or further away? Because the question in and of itself, to me, activates intuition, because in my experience and what I so believe about intuition is it's the soul embodied. So it's constantly going to be guiding us to that greater expansion of our soul's purpose. It's naturally going to improve our lives and the world around us. So I love that you're framing that question, right? Because then, you know, for me and all of us, probably, I can speak for myself, like sometimes I can be swayed by emotions or like maybe my own like ego desires or something less than just my soul, but to actually be in alignment with my intuition can move me beyond myself in some ways, right? Which is a greater service to another person, to my purpose, to humanity. There's many times I've done that, right? And so I feel like it's just such a key point for us all to drop into and say, okay, like if we're committed to our life purpose, intuition guide it. Here's some questions. So go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so where are we going from there then? So once we know whether we're making decisions from our life purpose, actually another way that's really, really grounded is our life purpose is fueled by our health, right? So whatever our life purpose is, the tool to get there is through having health. So another way to just call in intuition very, very easily is go, what's the healthy decision here? Which choice is healthier? That's it.
I love that. And also, like the body is the feedback, right? So if something doesn't feel right or there's disease or like conflict in our body, it's like, what is our body telling us? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I felt like I told my boyfriend, I'm like, my heart feels sick. And it was like, oh yeah, that choice didn't feel quite right. Like my heart knew, right? So the body gives you feedback of like, this feels in alignment or this doesn't, right? And so I feel like what you said is the biggest like instrument of our intuition is our body. And I teach people to go into their heart and then their gut, right? So they're actually moving into that place of our body being that like flow out or constricted, and usually moving into the expansion versus the constriction. So I'm curious if you want to say more about that.
Yeah, I would, because a lot of people will say that once your intuition comes in, everything's groovy, right? Now, what happens, what I see a lot is people go, I know that was my intuition, but if I make that choice, and then that's when all the resistance and the interference comes up. So the second tool is once you realize, okay, that would be the best decision to bring me closer to my dream, we've got to surrender to the contractions or the tightening of the throat or whatever it might be, because that's where the energy comes from to take us towards our goals and our life purposes. So instead of saying, that's no good, I shouldn't be contracted, let's use that energy instead of it using us.
I'm so glad you said that, because I love these. They always reflect me and everybody watching these, right? Because we're all connected, but I'm experiencing exactly what you said. Like, okay, I know this is the right thing, but I feel constricted, like literally in my throat. What do you say? I'm like, wait, I shouldn't feel that way. Like, that means it's not intuition. I think like, you know, our nonprofit for One Heart Global with, when I went to Bali, I was freaked out. I was like, oh my God, I was supposed to go, but my business manager at the time was like, yeah, feel the fear and do it anyways. Like, I'm going. If you want to go, great. If not, I'm still going. But it was that fear, right? It was like, I knew I needed to go, but then I got anxiety. And so I could have been like, oh, I'm anxious, I'm not going. No, thank God I did. We helped 100 kids, right? But it's like, I think to hear you say that, it's like, I feel relief. Like it's like music to my ears, because it's like, you know, we do think, and I've been teaching intuition for like 14 years, right? And it's like, oh yeah, intuition, it's all easy. No, it just means you're following your path. Like it just means and your purpose, and you're going to feel fulfilled. But in my experience, it is not always easy. Like it's fulfilling, you know, and it can be very joyful. But I mean, I've experienced great challenge, you know, mostly from what you're saying, the interference, like letting that have more power than the core knowing.
Right. And this comes from the whole yin and yang background that, you know, I've been trained in, that in order to appreciate the light, and the greater light we're going to get is because we've gone through the darkness. So the ability to go through the contraction, the darkness. It's like to get to the rose, you got to go through the thorns. Otherwise, you don't appreciate the rose, right? So those go together. And the ability to transcend this, oh no, what do I do? That's like we get into this trance of ego or whatever you want to call it that might take us away, but that's the actual fuel that will empower us even more greatly than if it were easy. But we get to make it easy by simply surrendering to it and using that energy. And then that energy starts to circulate, because any fears and doubts we have all come from the brain. Okay, so once again we get back into the body, we start feeling that contraction, the heat, the nervousness, the heart, whatever it is, and we breathe into it. It starts to settle it down. It starts to circulate to parts of our body, mind, soul that need that energy in order to motivate us and push us towards our life purpose.
It's just bizarre. So I'm so freaking honest and transparent with my own life, but I'm like, I used to feel the darkness and I used to push it away. I used to be like, nope, I'm light. I don't want to feel darkness. But what happened when it got stronger, I didn't know what to do with it. And so what I'm hearing you say is you can actually use it as fuel to actually make you
Yes.
lighter.
Right. Like every great masterpiece came out of sadness or anger, or every great music piece came out of somebody who actually went into the darkness of their soul and turned that into mastery. So instead of running away from it and, visualizing a beautiful garden path and a stream, all of that, like you say, no, like, let this be in my body and use it.
It's so funny because I'm like, yep, I do that. Like, that path looks easy. And it's like,
Right.
I literally was just having this conversation. Like, why did I go in this harder path? And they're like, because that's what you want. That's your purpose. You're like, what it leads to. And I'm just like, well, it makes sense to take the light, easy path. And they're like, yeah, that's pretty temporary, Abby.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like, really, that is a huge step. Like people tend to do something to run away from something, a signal that's actually saying, no, this is it. You've just got to get through this fuel, transcend that fuel and use it, embrace it, surrender it. And now, once you do that, it actually does become easy. Yeah. Because you're vulnerable and you're okay with being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We get comfortable with being uncomfortable because we learn to surrender. And we breathe that, and we all of a sudden start feeling more energy than we ever had. And then we go, okay, I'm going for it. I'm okay with it now. I can handle it.
It's fascinating. I mean, like, it literally, as we're talking, I'm feeling the sensations of constriction and resistance and like grief and fear.
So but those are just words. You feel the physical sensation and it's nothing. There's a story behind grief. There's a story behind fear. Once you actually feel the physical sensation, all it is chi. It's just energy. And you feel it. You let it run through you. It's hot, it's contracted, it's pumping up and down, whatever it might be. You just let it run through you. It's like a hose with a knot in it. And you just like pull that knot out and let the chi move through. And so instead of it vibrating, trying to push through, it starts going through smoothly. And that's when wisdom comes in. That's how I do it. I see. That's it. I know how to do this. I got this.
Makes sense. I'm staring at it because I'm just like integrating it and feeling it. I have a really good friend, Christy Keith, her name is, and she has an organization called Heart of Now. I think you can go to heartofnow.org. And she talks about this. She says you actually have to feel the sensations and just let it, like, she's like, don't make it mean anything, just feel your body. And I was like, I didn't get it. I'm like, well, it has to mean something. It has to be a signal for something. And she's like, nope, just feel it. I'm like, okay, what else am I gonna do?
And once you do that, once we're in the body and we simply feel the physical sensations, the mind is clear and it actually tells you what it's for. The wisdom comes to you The wisdom comes through to us instead of us trying to figure it out. Never got anybody anywhere.
Right.
Just come through.
Right. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm feeling it. There's a calmness where like, yeah, I literally, my mind doesn't have anything to say to you because I'm so in my body. Like it's bizarre, right? I'm just like there's a stillness.
Okay, well, so let me go to another way that we actually feel these energetic fuels is through our senses. So intuition, some people tend to see images. They actually will get a sentence that they see, or they get a place that they see. Some people hear that inner voice, right? So it's really, really important to develop all of these. And my first and continue to this day is through touch. So I put my hands on people and I get messages, right? So touch works great for me. And then the breath. So we breathe in the intuition, right? So we use our five senses. Some people get a taste in their mouth. When intuition is calling, knocking on the door, they actually get a taste. Like the saliva changes and they know, oh, that's intuition instead of interference. So what's important for us all to do is hone in on our senses and to use them as funnels to go, oh, that's my intuition. There it is again. There's that voice. There's the vision. There's that feeling in my body that I know I'm on the right track. Right? So we use all of them. What am I tasting right now? Actually, a real simple one is if your mouth starts drying out, something's off. Right? But if you start making more saliva, you're onto something. You're making juice for your dream. You're actually making the battery acid for your battery to start conducting electricity, right? So using our senses is just a very, very grounding way to tap into intuition.
No, I've experienced what you're saying. It's just funny. I'm just like, yeah.
And that's a good way to get us out of our brains to go, okay, what am I seeing? What am I hearing? What's going on in my mouth? Where in my body? Where do I feel sensations? And just stay with it. It becomes a meditation. And say, any messages? They come, they don't.
Yeah. There's such a peaceful presence when you're connected to your intuition, right? There's just this like knowing. There's not the chaos, the mayhem. It's like this centered way of being, Like I experienced that with you. Like I think that's why, and then when you go into a room, it's like you feel calm and people around you feel calm when you're acting from that place.
That's right. Yeah.
So is there a way that you can guide people to bring their intuition more into their life? So it's like you're giving us ways to connect with it. How can they, and we all, right? We're all in this together, like I'm always learning. For me, it's like the practical application of it, like to actually do it, to take action. So like for me, like I was telling you, I don't know that I said this yet, but I started my company really young, taking action. Like this feels good and I'm going to do it. I'm going to put in the resume. I'm going to open the office, right? Like what is that impetus, that thing forward movement to actually take the physical action of like, my intuition told me to do this and I actually took the action to now have the
Right. Well, I would recommend that people start in small steps and at different times in our lives, depending on what's coming through. Small steps is always safe. So now again, if you get that strong drive to take a big jump, well, that's fine too. And if you're still of the brain, you're wrestling with the brain about what to do, then just take some small steps, right? So if you want to start a business, well, what would the first step be? Well, let's find out. I'm going to start a business. How much is rent? Whatever that might be. You can write a list. You can use the brain. You can use the brain to make up little steps to get you towards your dream. It's fine to do that. And a lot of times what happens is once we start making braver steps, we start taking bigger jumps, and everything just starts to show up. Another good one, okay, look, do I go A? That would be easy, but B is really what's driving me. Can I get a sign? Just give me a sign, and I promise to listen. And whoever that is, that includes us, and usually something will come. A phone call comes, something happens, and a sign comes in, and then you go, I know. There's a sign.
Wow. That's so funny. Oh my God. I hadn't thought, I'm not even going to tell you, but clearly I don't need to act on that thought. This is ridiculous, Seymour. We're so like connected, energetic. I'm not even telling you my thoughts and I'm getting started.
Right. And so, okay, so just to summarize, does this choice bring me closer to my dream? Is this choice healthier for me? Can I get a sign? I'm listening. And all through that, wherever that takes, a day, a week, whatever, stay focused on the body and just listen. And then the steps will show themselves.
Yeah, so I'm having this memory of, so I came back from California. I was driving to my house in Oregon. This was a couple of years ago. And I remember getting this really strong intuition to come, like that, this knowing that we're talking about, the body saying, yeah, this is what we do. But my mind and my emotions just freaking out, being like, no, like why? Like the brakes, right? So what I want to invite everybody to do is kind of drop into that deeper knowingness.
Right.
It's almost like the current of a river, like that current versus just what's on the surface. So you can drop down deeper because, yeah, that was and is leading to my life purpose, right? Like having a family, doing all the things I want to do, right? But it was the same energy that it was for my business, but I had personal resistance. Versus my business, like, this is great. This is just fun, right? It didn't really challenge my own stuff, so to speak. So I just want to like let everybody know that's normal, right? Just because I've had that experience. Because I remember being like, wait, like maybe I should be doing this. Like I have resistance, kind of like we were talking about earlier. So just to kind of have that deeper knowingness of like the current of the river, for whatever reason, that's appropriate to say.
Okay, here's another tool that I've been playing with recently. It is amazing that each one of us, even though there's so many of us, it is actually amazing that each of us was a miracle of life. Okay, like it is amazing that we went through 280 days inside the womb, and it actually took a lot of actual people to love us, to bring us into being on this planet. And each of us, apparently there's some scientific calculation that says each of us are like 1 in 400 trillion chances different than someone else. So it took 1 in 400 trillion events to make a unique human being. And that's you, and that's me, and that's everyone else. And when we can tap into the people who loved us into being here, it kind of broadens the picture and brings us into, I am, without being arrogant, I am actually very special. And if I'm here, I have a purpose for self and to serve. Because I'm only 1 in 400 trillion. That's me. And just grounding ourselves into the love and the health and all the events that brought us into being is a way for us to feel the importance of our journey here.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. And then feel that, right? So instead of it just being words that go in the head, like all our sense organs are around our brain, right? Okay, that's fine. That's where we first hear them. Let's bring them in to the body and let the body resonate with that power. And then the body drives us to wherever we're supposed to go.
Mhm.
Forward,
Mhm.
back, forward.
Mhm. To me, it's about being in alignment with it. Like you're giving us a tool to move forward or away from, but it's about being in alignment with this higher purpose and listening to our intuition to be moved in alignment with it. So we're, again, the instrument, we're acting, our body's acting as that instrument to bring forth that essence of our purpose.
Right. And we're actually in tune with the forces of nature, right? Which is another traditional way to tap into intuition, right? So instead of sitting in around a computer where there's all these people, is even if it's the smallest thing, just looking outside of a window and tapping into the energy of a tree that's been around for hundreds or maybe even thousands of years. And to just go, okay, let me remember that I'm part of this bigger picture, and tune and bring nature's chi into our bodies and use the energy of nature to fulfill every cell. And that'll keep us healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a life force flow, like for reals. Like this morning I walked out the door and it was like literally there was birds right above me going like this and then like almost guiding me on my run. It was unbelievable. And they just kept changing. I was like, yep, now go here. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, that's right. So that ability to be in the body and then start breathing in ki or chi or prana, mana, whatever you want to call it, is really, really important. And that brings in health to our body. And the more we actually do that, the less we have to eat, the less we're dependent on external energy forces to keep us fueled, because we're tuning in to the bigger picture of the bigger energy that's everywhere around us. I mean, that's how trees do this, right? They're not in any special diets, or they don't take any supplements, right? And they live for thousands of years because they know how to root themselves in the earth and bring in the chi.
Yeah.
So it's good to remember that. I mean, these are very practical tools for just tapping in, just pulling the intuition.
Yeah, I love it. And I think it makes us become so much more present here. You know, like I have a meditation where I guide people as like that they're a tree, that they're like growing roots out the bottom of their feet. So they're like grounded to the earth. You know,
That's right.
there's a
So
tree
yeah,
behind you too, and that you have.
that's
Yeah,
right.
it's
For sure.
totally, yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to share about how, obviously it's so obvious, but how following your intuition allows you to serve more people? And maybe even kind of bridging on the part where I was starting to say how it kind of moves you even beyond yourself, like your ego self or the desires of instant gratification into this bigger picture, you know, like that greater service, like I talked about earlier. Is there anything?
Right. Okay. So service means relationship. Okay.
Mhm.
Right? Service is relationship. And that's the most challenging place for all of us, where, okay, how do I use my intuition? Somebody's saying this, I don't like it. Why do they do it? Blah, 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 blah. And so that's the most important time to use intuition instead of reaction, instead of ego or whatever it might be. So this is really, this is the biggest step. I mean, it's easy to be intuitive for almost anybody. If you're on a hill and there's a tree around and the birds are going around you and flying, you go, oh, this is sweet. I know what to do with my purpose, right? That's easy. But how do you do it when someone's yelling at you? And that's the most important learning lesson. And that's exactly why they showed up. That's exactly why they showed up, because it's too easy on the mountain, on the, you know, right? Or in the cave, right? So we get to pull in intuition in our most challenging times, and instead of react, resolve. And to go, okay, here's where I'm going to breathe. Before I do what I usually do, let's breathe. And where do I want to go with this person? Where do I want to go in serving my own life and serving this one person who's in front of me that will allow me to be in greater service for all my relationships, right? Because that's what service is. The more we're serving many more people, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's where these tools that I'm speaking about, and I'm practicing them all the time, is that even as I'm talking with you, while I'm talking with you, I'm scanning my body. I'm feeling, and as you're listening, I know that you're doing it because I feel you through these, cables or whatever they are, these World Wide Web waves, right? And going, it's important while we're listening is to feel where we feel the sensations and go, and if this was a conflict, you go, okay, where am I choosing to go with this person? And let intuition, do I want to get closer? Or maybe it's a different time when I could do that. Maybe it's better that I create distance. So do I go towards them again or away from them? It's that simple. And if intuition comes in and go, okay, stop the reactive behavior. What's the resolving behavior to bring me closer? And something will come through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we behave from. And that's how we best serve ourselves, because we learn how to become more resolute with different challenging relationship scenarios. And then we can serve more people, whatever shows up.
I love that. I love that. So moving towards somebody is always going to bring more resolve, or just whatever our intuition is telling us to do in the moment. Somebody at my
Well,
door.
once
Intuition
what
is
happens
my
is,
door.
well, instead of reacting, if we go into a different phase of receiving and surrendering and getting more comfortable with being in the uncomfortable situation, then saying something, look, whatever's going on between us, it's important for me to know that I would like to get closer to you. And they go, what? You don't usually do that. You usually yell back, or you run away, or you go into anxiety, or you blame other, whatever the reactive behavior is. I all of a sudden do something different because intuition said, let's reframe this and let's get closer. And then the whole relationship shifts.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I choose to go with you. Do you want to go there with me too?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just shifts. How
Right.
can we get there together?
Right. And it's an empowering choice. I think, sometimes we can all feel victimized because there's certain things that happen outside of us. Like, what do we do? And then to ask ourselves, okay, what do I choose to do from this higher place of purpose and my intuition? And then
Right.
the answer, like you said, is going to come, and it might take people by surprise, like whatever, like, whoa, you're acting different.
That's
It's
right.
like, it
That's
is
right.
different to act that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And that comes from getting more comfortable with being uncomfortable and feeling the body instead of making up all this story stuff.
And so then you almost trust the higher purpose is going to unfold, right? It's like,
That's intuition, right? It's like that. It's a snap. It just comes through. It's nothing you can plan. It just comes right through. And then it shows us the steps.
and then we can take action to have that, or not, but it's like when we take action, we experience it.
It's just one moment at a time. It unfolds.
I wonder if there's a way that I used to call it like an intuitive check-in, where it's kind of like you ask, is this a yes or is this a no? Is this a green light or a red light? And you can kind of use that as your own feedback, right? Being like, yes, I can trust myself. This is what my intuitive yes feels like, and this is what my intuitive no feels like. So maybe you want to, I don't know if you want to guide somebody through. It's really that simple. Like, what is your intuitive yes? And what is your intuitive no?
Right. And so that's over time, we start to learn our own individual intuitive signals that we go, oh, this is how I know when I'm on the path that moves me towards my dream. Oh, there it is again. Everybody gets that shiver. You all know that. I mean, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Somebody says something of deep truth and a shiver goes through this. So that's a common intuitive tool.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's got other states and spaces that we can start to learn and go, oh, there it is. And whenever that happens, it's important to follow it because it's always the right path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So everybody that gets to find them.
And just to keep it simple, if you need something, because you're not like, oh, I don't know which one of these is mine, just really you can ask yourself, what does my intuitive yes feel like in my body? So everybody now can ask yourself, what does my intuitive yes feel like? When my intuition says yes, what happens in my body? For me, I feel expansion, I feel freedom, I feel safety. What's going on for you right now as you ask yourself that question? What is my intuitive yes? So I'll take a pause for everybody to feel that.
Yeah.
And then what is your intuitive no? So take a moment to feel like, what is my intuitive no? Like when I just really have this strong feeling like that's a no. What does that feel like? And once you feel that, just notice the difference. So you know what your yes is, you know what your no is.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Great. Great. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm on the middle, like I'm right in the middle, and I just go, okay, I know intellect would say this, intuition might say this. I don't know. What I do is I take a coin, right? Do you ever do this?
I do, but I don't like it. I do not recommend the coin thing.
So heads is this, that's the logical thing. Intuition would be take the chance. And I'm going to do whatever the coin does. And then I get all scared inside. And I go, but I center myself, I feel my body, and I just let the coin go. And then as the coin's flipping, I start feeling, okay, this is what I want. I want it to land like this.
Yeah.
So that sometimes is an indicator in itself.
Oh, what you really want. That's a good.
Yeah, because you go, oh no, here it is. And then when the coin lands and you go, no. Right? So, but that's all, you don't have to do it, right?
Yeah.
But you can use that as a tool. And then once again, feel your body, right? And just go, okay. And then it'll come to you.
That's beautiful. I love that because when you're flipping the coin, you're actually asking yourself, what is the highest truth here? Whatever the coin says almost doesn't matter because it's just eliciting a response in you about what you really want.
Exactly right. And I'm sure there's a few different ways to do that, whether it's coins or, if someone comes around the corner in 1 minute, that's going to mean that, you can have fun with it. Right?
I love that. Yeah, because I flipped a coin before and been like, ooh, it just gets confusing. But when it actually elicits the response, that is really the tool.
Yeah, so once again, we want to use the response and let our body tell us, right?
Right. This is a really random thing that's coming through, but actually there was somebody knocking on the door. I didn't even get it. It's so funny because I was so engaged in this. And I think this is why I'm saying this now. To feel the difference between your intuition and somebody else knocking at your door, somebody else's opinion, somebody else's energy, right? To actually be able to discern, this is my energy and my intuition versus what somebody else thinks. So I'd love for you to share like some energetic boundaries, right? Because whatever's going on in the world too, like I'll go to different countries and it's like, wow, I'll feel myself, but also the relationship of where I'm at now. So a lot of times I'll feel their energy and kind of not know, I know what to do, but like I'll have to adjust, right? So my question for you is, how can we all own our own energy, our own intuitive guidance just within us and be able to interact with others, but not let it influence us to the point where we're not even clear within ourselves?
Okay, well, and you've heard this so much. The key step is the breath. Okay, we can be surrounded by an ocean. all right, that would drown us in minutes. But as long as you're swimming and you're breathing, as long as you're moving and you're breathing, that ocean doesn't get to us. We keep our center. So the breath is number one for keeping our center, right? And no matter what someone's saying around us or whatever they feel, it's really, really important to go within, inquire within, and use our breath to be in our body and keep our center. And everybody needs some kind of discipline on a daily basis to keep the body physically centered. And so people do yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong or Pilates or whatever it is. Physical disciplines done on a daily basis are really, really important to keep the body centered and healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a huge thing. People get burnt out. They're working with people a lot and they feel other people's energies. It starts leaking in. You hear they get burnt out. All of that is got to be dealt with. And so the way to do that is by knowing how to keep our own center. Ultimately, receiving and expressing are the same. So giving to self and serving others are one healthy act. And we all get to.
Go ahead.
Okay. So when I'm doing, the Zen Touch body work that I do, I can't guarantee that this person is going to feel better. But I know for sure I'm going to feel better. Mm. And just knowing that my giving, my desire to give to another in a way, because I'm doing deep breathing and I'm stretching while I'm doing the body work, just using that as an example, but it can be any skill, that while we're talking with someone, we're actually energizing ourselves as they're going, wow, that's cool. I feel energy too. Right? And then it's a loop. So that's how to stay centered, ultimately, is to make sure that anything we give is also receiving. And anything we're receiving helps us to give. They emerge together.
Mm-hmm. And almost to not receive, like if something is negative, you can actually say no, right? And so it's like receive what's loving, what's good, life-giving to you, and say no to what's not. Like you can say no too if somebody's sending in some negative energy, you can say no.
Okay, let them send the negative energy and use it. Right? Because remember, once again, we learn from adversity. The more negative they are, then the more positive energy we get. Because we learn from adversity. We don't learn from, oh, you're so supportive, and this is beautiful, I love you, you love me. We don't learn from that. It's nice. It's like taking a vacation. We get a little charged up, it's nice. But where we really learn from is when someone's challenging us. And so they're showing up to give us negativity for this purpose, so that we can learn to use that and turn it into health and vitality. And the opposite. We're either going to do the same as someone else, or we're going to do the opposite. Just two choices.
So, man, I'm like such a student of this. How would you use that energy to change it for good? Just feel it. So imagine somebody's coming into the room yelling at you, really mad at you, blaming you for something. How do you actually use that for good? You're saying don't try to stop it, let it come in.
That's right. Well, first, as long as there's no physical danger, okay? If this is a threat, you need to get out of there, okay? So now that's number one. That's intuition number one. Okay, is this safe? Okay. As long as there's no physical threat, then use those physical vibrations of the words and the sounds and the energy, and just breathe them. All they are sensations. But if we go into, why are you doing this? Oh, this is no good. This is bad. You shouldn't be talking. I shouldn't be blah, 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 blah. That's just story. Just feel the physical sensations and let them run through you. And then go, where would I like to go with this person? Where's the best destination to go with this person right now? Or tomorrow, or whenever I choose to do it. And just use those sensations instead of them using us.
So it sounds like they're kind of moving through the body, right? Because like I said, obviously
Right.
my thing was like, oh, just say no. But what you're suggesting is you kind of let it move through you.
Say yes to no.
Say yes to no.
Yeah. And go, okay. And they'll see, they will feel that you're doing something that's important. They'll know it if you're really, really doing it. And this, because a lot of people just might check out. They might go, okay, yeah, I'm listening. Yeah, but they're not really in it. They're just kind of detaching. So you don't want to detach. You actually want to use it and take the charge of it, neutralize it, use it for vitality. It's almost like going, wow, that was deep. You know? Because like as long as there's no harm coming to you, it's just vibration.
Yeah. Well, you're transforming it. It sounds like if you can't feel it, you can't transform it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you said about service as relationship. That's like so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we have to be in relationship to serve.
Exactly. I know, it's simple.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. So is there any way that people can do more work with you? I know, I don't know if you have multiple schools now, but you just have such an awesome empire and just who you are. I'm just so grateful for you. You're like a Zen master to me. But I would love for you to just share like your website or way people can work with you. You have so many books too. Like this man is so well-versed, it's ridiculous. But if there's anything you want to share with the audience, you know, about how they can get more resources.
Just contact the Seymour, Seymour, at ISOHARTS, International School of Healing Arts, ISOHARTS.com, or just go to isohearts.com, ISOHARTS.com. And you can contact me. I'm happy to answer any questions. Let's hang out, talk. Yeah, great.
Yeah, he's so easy. So, yeah, you're such an easy presence to be with. Let's see. I guess the other question just in relation to income is how have you been able to see your income increase as you followed your intuition?
This comes to creativity. I've had ups and downs with income, and it's not a matter of how much. That's as important to me as the wave. So I've seen that when the wave is up, I need to start getting more into a deeper sense of creativity than I had before, because that's when the wave is going to go down a little bit. And that's the perfect sign and signal for me to go, I get to be more creative and go deeper than I've ever gone before if I'm choosing to have another big wave come up. Right? So we have these lulls and we have these accents. And so to me, the point is to be able to ride with that and not see it as good or bad. Am I doing something wrong because my income went down this week or this month or something like that? But go, hey, this is a sign. Feel it once again. And how can I make my creative level deeper?
What's the calling? What's the intuitive calling to go deeper, to get to a new awareness, to then serve more people?
And it's natural to have those highs so that we can actually have the time and the income, whatever's necessary, to actually take a break and go deeper into ourselves. And the income will always show as long as we continue to serve, as long as we have something valuable to share, and as long as we're growing ourselves, then the income will always come. I mean, this may sound like a kind of a strange way to end as we're closing, but people die when the value of their death is greater than the value of their life.
Mm. And they move to the other side, to a different place of transition and light.
Yeah. And so a lot of people die at the perfect moment when their contribution wouldn't have gotten any better.
Mm.
So their death is actually, like, think of Jesus, right? Think of Martin Luther King. These people died at this perfect time to create a huge ripple. And so now on the other side of it, like if you still want to be around for a long time, is to keep on getting more creative, to keep on serving, to go deeper and deeper into our service and how we're sharing creativity and love, right, with the world. And then our value will continue to go and our life will continue to go.
It's beautiful. I love that. It's a way that we can kind of start to wrap up. Is my mom used to ask me this question: if you ever get too into yourself, Abby, just ask, how can I serve? Right? And it's like, it's a question that just really does expand the heart and the intuition of, okay, how can I serve? How can I be of service today?
Right. And when serving others also serves you, it's the same.
It really is. I mean, I know when I started the nonprofit, the more service I would do, the more my business would grow. I mean, it was just like, because I was in that mindset of serving, you know, and it's still like, okay, how can I serve today? What can I do? And it's like,
Right.
it gets you into that place of connection, relationship and expansion, right? All of it. Yeah.
And the reason to do this is to grow, not to be happy.
Mm.
We're here to grow. That's it.
It's beautiful. Oh, I love it. I could talk to you all day.
Great talking with you. And Abby, I love what you're doing with this show. It is so great to hear. I've been listening to these speakers, and it's just so great to hear all these people tap into intuition. It's so reinforcing for people to go, wow, look at all these people. I can do this too. I'm doing this too from this day forward, right?
Yeah,
it's
totally.
So I love that you're doing this show. It's such a great service.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, my goal is to reach like 1 million people this lifetime. So it's like, share it, like wherever you get it, like everybody has access to it. I'm like, that's why it's free. It's like, just share it, be it, live it. And I know my purpose is to teach intuition. So as we acted like our own intuition, it's like we become the change we're supposed to like be, you know, like we have more light, we have more love, and then our world becomes that loving place. So
right on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. All right, everybody, thanks so much for joining and just illuminating your light so bright and just following your intuition. It's always a pleasure. And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Abby. Bye.
Thank you, Seymour. Bye.
Bye.